extraordinaire, John Shields, for providing the photos for slideshow tonight. We have some special guests with us here tonight. Unfortunately, Commissioner Hasagawa had to take off, but we obviously have the Director of the Department of Commerce, Nguyen, here with us tonight. Former Mayor of Seattle, Greg Nichols. Both the current and former executive directors of the White Center Community Development Association, Celia Sadusa and Oro Garcia, as well as those other elected officials and candidates who stuck around. For those of you who I spoke with about speaking, if you care to join me in front, we can go ahead and move forward with that second.
Right? You've probably got a million of them.
All right. Joe, you were just a representative, man. You are a leader these last couple of years. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, you've inspired me so much. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Oro Garcia. You guys endorsed me for school board a couple years back, so thank you. But the reason I decided to run was because of this guy. And he kind of finessed me because I ran, I got elected, and then a month later, we had to shut the whole thing down because of the pandemic. But you know who was here the whole time? Whenever there was an emergency, whenever we needed something for the kids? Joe. Every single time I called, every single time the school district needed some help, no matter what, Joe showed up. Every single time. He's been trying to get a new high school in White Center built for 30 plus years. You know what had happened? When Joe was elected.
Yeah.
When we needed funding for the food bank, who showed up? Joe showed up. When we needed affordable housing led by White Center residents, for White Center residents, I want to let you talk more about that. Who made sure that happened? Joe made it happen.
That's right.
Never in my 30 plus, almost 40 plus years of living have I seen somebody be down for White Center like Joe has. So,
Sealy has.
it's but when we're talking about fighters, when we're talking about people that we need to like represent us, this guy right here. So, Joe, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you. White Center really appreciates you. You're always going to be part of White Center, no matter how much you move. So, thank you, brother. Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, I feel like a bad member because I already come to these meetings. And I just want to be really transparent because people who know me know I will say what I need to say. So, relevance means a lot. And the way that we work as in our parties, the Democratic Party, I don't see a lot of people who look like me. I just want to be real. And so we need to figure this out. If we are going to have a thriving party, then we need to make sure how the diversity of the voices also is included in the work that we do. And so I just wanted to say that. Watching all the candidates come up, this is about liberation. And how do we center humanity around the way that governance happens? We don't take time to talk about it because there's a lot of drama. But relationships matter when it comes to taking care of community. We're sitting in the middle of a time where I am fighting to not be erased by our government, by our systems and institutions. And I'm looking at white faces who are representing me. And it's not because they don't care. A lot of times they need to figure out how to carry the water. And so I'm here to help. All of us do that. This is not the time to kind of target and separate. This is the time that we figure out how to love on each other. And to figure out and hear the words that we need to hear without criticizing and without blaming. So I just wanted to say, I love the way that we come together at times like this, but it's when we go away that really matter in our work. So I just want to say, Joe and I, we go back a long way. We actually met at OLEO, which is the citizen oversight for the police, for the sheriff's office. And I remember seeing this young, well, now here we go again, these young kids. But I remember thinking, dude, this shit, he knows a lot of shit. But also, at the heart of what he was doing was trying to figure out how do we make lives better for young people. To see him walk and move in the world, not just in his elected seat, but move in a world where young people see themselves in him is so liberating for our communities like White Center. And so I just, every time I talk to Joe, I'm always saying, just handle your business, do your work, and make sure that the relationships that you are building are the relationships that are foundational to who you are and your family. We love you.
Yes.
This is, your journey continues, and you take all of us with you, and we got your back. We love you, Joe.
I don't know if this, I don't even know this. Is this okay? I got things to say. Hi, everybody, 34th LG. My name is Toshiko Hasegawa, and I am so pleased to be here with you this time to honor our champion. Senator is a title for life.
Yeah.
Senator Joe Nguyen. And he will always be your favorite senator's favorite senator. I have the privilege of calling Joe my day one. We go way back. And I have had the chance to see him in action at every single stage. And I just want to say that from my perspective at the state, when I was executive director of Washington State's Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs, Joe was exactly the senator that we needed him to be when progressive causes needed a champion, when progressive causes needed an unapologetic voice. 6 years in office, 6 years in elected office. And I just want to shout out a couple of key accomplishments. Auntie Seeley touched on one. That experience that she had with him at the Office of Law Enforcement Oversight turned into, years later, a piece of legislation that was transformative for the entire nation for criminal justice reform and police accountability. And that work started with this community. That work started with tragedy that turned into a call to action. I remember when he ran for office, he told a story about his father. His father was a mechanic, and while he was under a car, the stand broke out, it hurt his father and left him paraplegic. And the community, he was bound to a wheelchair, and the community came and built a ramp so that his father could get into their own house. And the need for access to care and to resources is what inspired Joe to run to begin with. He went in and ended up championing access to critical services for people of all kinds of walks of life, all junctures of their immigration experience, and all different classifications. He has been a voice for the people who needed a champion. And then when he came to, became chair of the climate committee, he recognized that it's not just about clean energy and an energy transformation, it's actually about environmental justice, which is a recognition that there are direct indicators of proximity to pollutants, to industry that lead to disparate outcomes in health, education, in birth rate and asthma for vulnerable communities, and he championed environmental justice along with the Climate Commitment Act at Washington State. And that it's transformational. And I'm so proud of what he has been able to do in his time as a state senator. And I feel, it feels like a loss. I think there's a lot of people with big emotions because we love him. That dude that ran with his snark and his, his fancy little watch is the same man who stands before us today. And he has kept it real for us the entire time. And it's only appropriate that he goes on to a statewide position. It's only appropriate that your goodness goes on for even broader impact in this way. I am so proud
That's
of
right.
you, Joe.
Yeah.
And though there feels like there's a hole in the Senate, Emily Alvarado is freaking awesome. Okay. The pipeline and the bench is good, is taken care of, and you can move on to this new position knowing that, and know that this group, this base, we've got it. They've got it. They're gonna be okay. And we also know that you'll be back someday.
That's right.
We will see you in elected office again someday. I'm calling it right here, right now. So, thank you so much, Senator Joe, for everything. Love you. Go cause some good trouble.
Thank you, George. For those of you who are newer to the organization, my name is Greg Nichols. I was proud to represent all of you on the King County Council for 14 years and serve you as mayor for 8 years. So I've been around the block a few times, and I was told there was going to be a bylaws debate, so that's why I'm nothing I enjoy more, and I think a lot of you feel the same way. I don't have the length of experience with Joe that the other speakers have. I got to know him about 6.5 years ago. We had an open Senate race here in the 34th District, and we had some really good candidates running for that open seat. And I watch those candidates. As someone who's been out there myself, I enjoy seeing people put campaigns together, put their messages together, communicate with voters. And I was particularly impressed with one candidate. It wasn't necessarily the most popular candidate within the party at that point, but it was a voice that I thought needed to be heard. And so I reached out and I said, I'd like to have a conversation with you. And the first thing I said to this candidate was, you're way too liberal for me. I'm liberal, but I'm not way out there. I'm kind of out there. And, but I think in a body of 49, there's room for a lot of different voices. And I thought and said that we needed to have an understanding of that, and we needed to open the doors for that kind of voice to be heard. And so I became a relatively early supporter and a very enthusiastic one. And I just want to say that I have never regretted that. I have been very proud of the job that Joe has done as our state senator. I will miss him, because I don't know what the Department of Commerce does. But I'm sure we will find out, because he's a good communicator. And I agree, I think he will be back. He will have some executive experience, which is helpful in addition to legislative experience. And I look forward to being part of that team when you decide that it's time to take the next step. But I want to say thank you. Thank you for 6 years of your life, 7 really with the campaign, where you served the people of this district and the people of Washington State with distinction. You came up with new and fresh ideas, which in Olympia isn't always encouraged, but you did it anyway, and you got people to listen to those ideas. So thank you for taking time away from your family away from your past career, and sharing that experience and that intellect and that passion with all of us. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
Alright. Now, Joe and I don't have a lot of stories together. For those of you who don't know, after graduating from college, I had the opportunity to go to DC and work for Congressman Derek Kilmer. And it was during Trump's first year in office in his first term. So I got to experience that chaos firsthand. And when I came back home to Seattle, I was really inspired by that work in DC to fight for change here locally. And when I got here, he was campaigning for the Senate. And man, you were all people could talk about. And it made me pay attention. And as someone who's from White Center, as a fellow Kennedy alum, I was awestruck by the work that you did in the Senate. You've continued to be an inspiration for me as I've taken over as chair now, but in the last 6 years of my leadership in this organization. And technically, the one story we do have, our escape room team is still undefeated.
Yes.
So we have that.
It was about like 15 seconds. It was
Oh,
close.
we did it.
Yeah.
15 seconds, 15 minutes, we did it. But having Joe as our senator was really an honor, and for your service, we got you this.
Thank you.
First off, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an amazing, I'll bring it with me as well. I was fully intending to go back to the Senate, so this was not something 3 months ago that was going to be a potential. But when the governor asked you to take on one of the most important agencies in Washington State at a critical time, I felt called to it. But the work here in the 34th is truly an honor. Still very connected with the 34th and the community here as well, and I'll continue to do so. And for the record, I don't plan on running for anything right now, so just so you guys know, I'm not announcing any campaigns. And what I will say as well is, as of today, I think I'm named in 6 lawsuits against the federal administration.
All right.
That was not anything anybody told me when you would take over as Director of Commerce, is that if you're impacted by federal action that we believe is unconstitutional, you have to be part of the lawsuit. And I'm like, sign me up. This sounds great. I'm all in. And what's great about the work in the 34th is that this is certainly a community that lets us live our values. You'll notice that the delegation 34th historically has been very strong. We've had majority leaders, we have recurrent majority leaders, we have chairs, we have champions, and it's because this community has our back. I will say not many people have that within their LDs. So when you go to the 34th, you have the people here in the community here that shares your values. The things that I was saying and doing that everybody else thought that I was crazy, it was like normal here. So I mean, yeah, I was like, Cap Gaines makes a lot of sense, pay chocolate, let's do that. And then we did that, right? And the other part too was, you know, when we spend so much time and effort trying to help our people in the communities, ensuring that we have resources to do so was important. So over the last 6 years, being able to champion things like funding for TANF, progressive revenue, climate change, ensuring that we have programs in place to alleviate decarbonization and carbon in our communities has been such a privilege and honor, and none of that would have been possible. I mean, I remember the day, I don't know if you guys, some of you were there, where it was a pretty contentious race for Senate that first time around, and you didn't have to trust me. You know, folks didn't know who I was. You know, you saw me around a little bit, but the folks in the 34th gave me a chance, and I respect that and I honor that, and that's why I took that to the legislature as well. I'll say we're in good hands with Senator Alvarado. We're obviously in good hands with Rep. Gibbon and Thomas as well. And it's because of the work in this room. So I really appreciate this honor and I really appreciate this recognition. But really it's because you need champions who are going to do what the community is doing. My whole point with White Center was that the first thing I saw, the first doors that I knocked on were at White Center. My family grew up in Park Lake Homes, number 2, for those who don't know. And I actually went and door knocked in that area specifically first because I wanted to understand really what's happening in the communities now. And what I found is that there are so many beautiful, passionate folks already doing the work that weren't getting the recognition, that weren't out in front, that weren't getting the resources. So I actually thought my job was fairly easy. I just listened to what Celie said, and I listened to what Aaron said, I listened to what Commissioner Hoskala said, and I just did that. That's all I did. So, you know, and I take that same ethos to Commerce. Commerce, for those who don't know, we have over 480 programs, everything from housing, homelessness, community service, behavioral health, permanent support, basically anything the legislature doesn't know how to do, they give it to Commerce. It's the kitchen sink. So I have 850 employees. I manage about $8 billion on behalf of the state. And what I've been telling my team is that these are not our programs. These are not our dollars. They belong to the community, and we are simply stewards of this work.
That's right.
And we want to make sure that. So for me, a lot of that work is a continuation of what we've been doing over the last few years. A lot of the programs that I was privileged to work on in the Senate is now over at Commerce, and a lot of that impacts our folks here. So the funding that they mentioned around housing and homelessness and food banks, that's all through Commerce. A lot of the public safety work, also all through Commerce as well. A lot of work around affordable housing, all through Commerce. So now I get to go from, in the legislature, where we have a lot of champions and friends, to go to the agencies to actually put that to action. So if anything, I'll probably be even more engaged. One benefit though is I get to sleep in my own bed every single night. I'll say that is pretty nice, to be able to see your family on a regular basis. So thank you so much for this, and thank you so much for all your work. There's certainly much more to go. I will say, 7 candidates already, and it's only March. That's crazy. That's actually a lot of people. So good luck to everybody running. I'm glad I'm not doing it, but good luck to you all as well. Thank you so much.